Goodness gracious. Alec. What is up, Alec? Thank you so much for that. 6 months. That is unreal. Not really a thing I would have thought achievable 6 months ago, to be frank. Oh, goodness. And Keep Watch is here too. What on earth? Alright, let's see. Since we're playing acoustic, we're going to have to manipulate things a little bit. I know, if only Bert were here too, it'd be the perfect evening for him. So how are you guys? I hope you guys are having a better day than I'm having. Because I'm having one of them days. Good God. If every day is one of them days, you probably need to make some life changes. Let's see, let's try tilting the mic down. So, can you guys hear this guitar okay out there? Alright, that's cool. Blues hammer. You guys getting your blues hammer on in the chat? Wait a minute, I think they played it in E. No, they didn't even play that much. They just played straight. Then there was a guy with a slide with absolutely rancid tone. Oh dear, wait, I should go tell the fine folks at Facebook, who are pretty much already here, that I'm currently live. So at least I can get some interactions with my content on social media. Let's see. Oh, come on. Update my link. There we go. He only played that real, real authentic, legitimate Stevie Ray Vaughan style blues. You know, that's a boy that had soul right there. Had so much soul, the Lord had to come and take it from him. Oh, yeah, let me tell my nephew Matt too, because he was asking if we were going to do more blues stuff. Because me and Grim and Ophasad mostly were hanging out at the end of the stream Monday night, and we were playing. They were asking about blues stuff, and we were playing some early blues stuff. And then Matt sent me a text and wanted to know if we were going to do some more. So let me see if he's on, or at least let him know so he can watch the VOD later. Hey, what's up, Ryan? How are you? Well, it doesn't have to be just blues. There is more pre-war music than just blues. We can do early jazz, and it doesn't even have to be American pre-war music. We can do, manouche jazz. We can do all kinds of stuff. To go to sleep early, as Keith Watch would say, sleep is for the weak. Where's the freaking slide? There it is. Hiding from me. Come on now. But anyway, I'm trying to mix up. Trying to mix up our themes more. I feel like we're doing the same themes a little too often. So instead of doing like a 2-week rotation or something, we may do like a set of unique ones, once a month or something. So have one Weeb Wednesday, one Washed Out Wednesday, one Pre-War Wednesday, one whatever Wednesday, Workout Wednesday. That was the one we did the other night. I'm just going to come up with a whole bunch of potential themes. And then maybe we could also do a thing where you guys in the Discord can vote on them or something. So I'm going to try to keep things a little more spicy. Can I get a quick rundown? Does anybody have quick rundown.gif? Well, I mean, so blues as a structure really starts to emerge, or starts to become kind of recognizable in the late 19th century, very early 20th century. You start to hear some of the forms and ideas that become familiar, coming out predominantly of things called field hollers, which were songs that were sung by working men, and then before that slaves, while working in the field. Which themselves are connected very closely back to earlier African music. But we start to hear these certain types of like AAB sorts of structures and stuff like that, call and response structures, things that you hear in blues music. And that starts to kind of crash into religious music, into gospel music in particular. And and various folk idioms during the sort of the mid 1800s, mid to late 1800s, and by the late 1800s, we start to really kind of hear these 1-4-5 type structures, these specific types of things that you could generally recognize as blues. And at that point, they start to kind of split off, and one of them goes more in the kind of jazz direction, and one of them goes more into what we would call the traditional or trad blues direction. But I mean, there are still a million kind of regional variations. This is something we talked about quite a lot on Monday night, because Grimm was asking. He really likes the soundtrack for this game, Railroad Tycoon, which has this kind of like general bluesy vibe to it, like lots of slide guitar, that sort of stuff. And to me, it sounds, I mentioned that it sounds to me a lot like someone trying to sound like Ry Cooder, who was trying to sound like Blind Willie Johnson, or kind of an evolved version of Blind Willie Johnson in his particular type of slide playing. But, you know, so he posted some examples, and like, well, no, this is more in the Chicago blues style, this, that, and the other, not really so much Delta blues. And so we sort of talked about how you had Delta blues, you had Texas blues, you had Piedmont blues, you had North Mississippi blues, you had country blues, which is a kind of a very broad term, kind of like Delta blues. It really covers a lot of stuff, but it tends to have a little different implication than Delta blues does. Yeah, Blind Willie Johnson is incredible. I mean, so many of those guys, and women too. There were a lot of really important women like Memphis Minnie, who were active back then, making amazing music, just absolutely amazing music. You know, but you had stuff like Piedmont blues, which would be like your Blind Boy Fuller. To an extent, your Blind Willie Mctell. Blind Willie Mctell was really interesting, though. He was very diverse and very versatile. You know, you'll hear him playing ragtime. You'll hear him playing various types of gospel music, all kinds of stuff. And also his actual playing is very technical compared to a lot of the other players of the time. You know, then you'll hear like, say, Mississippi John Hurt or Blind Blake put underneath the country blues label, which they're very different, but you get kind of a different vibe than you get from the people who tend to fall under the Delta blues label, which tends to be a little more gruff and rough and edgy. Probably the main exception to that would be Skip James, who was unusually technical as well, like he played fairly complex patterns compared to many of the other Delta blues guys who tended to be much more percussive and much more drum-like. Skip James would play more complex subdivisions with his right hand, and more kind of languid melodies. If I ever met the devil at the crossroads, well, it depended on the terms he offered. Yeah, dude, Vi's entire oeuvre is just a ripoff of Bucka White. Hold on a second, let's see. I got a text back from Maddie. What time? Now, bruh. Oh dear. Amusingly, you know, one of the what's thought to be one of the origins of the making a deal with the devil story is Paganini, of course, because of his technical capacities at the time. And Paganini actually is thought by most medical experts today to had the same joint condition that I do, which is how he could stretch and play some of the ridiculous things that he could. That or a related one called Marfan syndrome, which thankfully I don't have because it's much worse, much more dangerous. Curtis Blues Hammer, you've already missed the Blues Hammer reference, man. Like the very first thing that Alec and Keep did was jump into chat and say, hey, y'all ready for some Way Down in the Swamp Delta Blues? But I posted, if you know, in the Discord, I posted a bunch of stuff for you guys to check out. It was one of the examples that Grimm had posted for the Railroad Tycoon soundtrack that he liked was very Chicago blues, very, very Muddy Waters in terms of its sound. And I mean, really, Muddy was from down in the Delta originally, and would have played and heard that style of music early on. But once they got to the city, that kind of became a very different style of music. The structures kind of changed in many ways, and the way that the instrument was approached changed quite a bit because they moved to electric instruments predominantly, and added the ability to amplify the harmonica, which is pretty different. And very few of the guys that would really be Delta blues that played electric instruments. Probably Big Joe Williams is one of the only ones, and that was mostly later in his career. Interestingly, he played a 9-string guitar, but not like a gent 9-string guitar. It's like a 6-string guitar, but with the inside strings, like the bass strings, like doubled up, like on a 12-string. And there's still a few companies that make guitars like that, but not many. Weren't many back then, and not many now. It's a really interesting sound. The Kings. So BB was. Albert was from Texas. Was Freddie from Texas too? The BB in BB King stands for, the Beale Street Blues Boy, which was his name originally, his performing name originally. Hey Matt, what's up? How are you? But the Memphis blues stuff tends to be slightly more cityfied than the sort of strict, the hard Delta blues stuff. There's a lot of overlap depending on who you're listening to and what time period it's from. But you do tend to hear like a little bit more of that jazz influence and that kind of city influence. It's a really interesting thing. In terms of how the songs are structured, how sort of percussive in particular and aggressive the guitar playing tends to be comparatively, how polished the vocals tend to be, that sort of stuff. Alright, so let's find a, just been playing in standard. Let's go down to, actually no, let's start in standard first. I will show you guys some patterns and licks. We'll start in standard first before we go into the others. That's probably the safest way to go about it. Because I might as well, the little licks and stuff I've just been playing, I might as well show you a few of those just for fun. Alright, so something that we've talked about before, that I've mentioned before, is that really it's very much about the right hand. Not much of this early stuff is played with a pick. Some of it will have, like they'll have a thumb pick and occasionally even finger picks, but it's not played with a flat pick, generally speaking. So you have to kind of learn to get your thumb to do different things depending on who you're trying to sound like, the particular style you're trying to emulate, and the time feel that we're going for. And there are two basic kinds of approaches with the thumb. And then there are some exceptions, like, say, Bucka White, whose thumb just kind of did all kinds of ridiculous things because he pretty much just wailed on the guitar. But when we're talking about establishing, like, kind of standard rhythms, because a lot of this solo guitar playing in early blues music is about self-accompaniment, where the guitar becomes kind of like the whole band. It's sort of the drum, it's the bass, it's the, you know, the guitar, the piano, it's the voice, it's all of these things. And so you have to get kind of separate things going with different parts of your hand. And probably the most simple or straightforward one is the dead thumb, which we've talked about before a little bit. The dead thumb is where the thumb is just going to play the beat on the low string to start with. Some players would change the string they were dead thumbing on. Others, like Lightnin' Hopkins, a lot of the time, who's a Texas blues man, who lived probably well into, I think he died in the 70s or 80s maybe. He was really, really, really old, and around for a really long time. I know he did that record with Barbara Dane in like the early to mid 70s. Right? He would just leave the same string going as the bass note. No matter what chords were being played, no matter what licks were being played, you would always have the low E string as the bass note. So if he was playing, and we can sort of hear in that context that low string becomes almost like a kick drum. Thump, 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 thump. Its pitch almost doesn't matter. And in fact, you'll hear a number of those guys, the dead thumb guys in particular, will tune their low string, the string that's going to be getting the dead thumb, slightly out of tune. So it kind of, instead of sort of enhancing the resonance, and this is not like a conscious thing, just sort of a thing that they heard and that they did for the most part, but so instead of sort of harmonizing perfectly with any octaves of that note or that E that may be coming up, instead it creates like a little bit more of a full sound, kind of like a chorus effect, a manual chorus effect up underneath everything. You can hear the difference that makes versus having it back in tune, and it's just a few cents. It's not even a quarter tone. You know, it's just tuning it a few cents sharp. A few cents flat I tend to not like as much personally, but some of them would do that. You know, they would sort of have their own sweetened or ideal tunings for their particular playing style that they just kind of developed. You know, on their own, from their own ear. So if we do that though with the E back in tune, that same sort of thing. the fact that it's now harmonized better, more closely aligned to the pitches that are in there, it kind of disappears. It doesn't really give us that sort of richness that tuning it slightly sharp does. The same thing when you change, if you change to a different key, say like the key of G, you have to be a little more subtle, because once you fret the string, you're bending it sharp as well. So if you've tuned it a certain amount sharp for the open string, when you fret the note, you'll be making it a little bit extra sharp, and it'll be a little too much usually. So let's say we get our G. Right, so that's in tune. Right, tuning that just a hair sharp again really makes that low note sort of stick out as we're thumping along with. So that's an interesting little trick you can do. And if you're learning a lot of older stuff, if you're trying to learn a lot of early pre-war blues, that's the sort of thing to sort of listen for. Listen for that low string to be just a hair up from where you think it's going to be, creating that kind of chorusing effect underneath. Sometimes you'll find that, even though you seem to be playing the right notes, you figured out the right notes, they don't quite sound right. Little tweaks to the tuning like that can matter quite a lot, because for the most part they weren't recording in studios using strobe tuners to intonate their guitars. They were just kind of tuning it the way they wanted to tune it, the way that created the sound that they wanted, in this case the fullest sound that they could get, and then going with it. And it's even more chaotic with guys that played 12 strings like Leadbelly and Blind Willie Mctell and stuff, and then that's just a losing battle most of the time to get it perfect, but something to be aware of. Right, so we've got this dead thumb going. All I'm doing is I'm taking my thumb and I'm thumping the E string right on the beat. Let's not even worry about the palm muting yet. Right? And there's sort of a trick. Even though it sounds like I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In my head, I'm hearing and feeling a little bit more of a swing feel, or what would become a more clear swing feel in the sort of branch of music that became jazz. Right, I'm hearing something that's more like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1 and 2 and 3 and it's almost like a hybrid or asymmetrical 3 feel in between those ones. 1, 2, 3, and 2. Which is something that a lot of people miss even when they play electric blues. The drummer will set up, especially if it's a drummer coming from a rock background, they'll set up and they'll just play 4 and they think, oh yeah, we're playing a 12-bar blues, we're playing in 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that gives us blues hammer if we do that. If we can imagine that sort of swing feel, almost like a 6 feel. 1 even just playing that generic pattern, it starts to pull us in. It starts to make the rhythm feel more real, feel more like actual blues instead of being kind of square cheeseball blues rock stuff, right? And so the same thing's happening when I'm doing this. I'm sort of hearing that swung rhythm in between those thumps. And so when I go to add my other tones, whatever they happen to be, and I'm predominantly using with this hand, mostly using my index finger. Sometimes I'll use my others, but a lot of the early blues guys and country guys for that matter too, and folk guys quite often just use their thumb and index finger. So I find myself kind of doing that to sort of make it feel a little more right. Like if you use your other fingers too much, in many cases you get too much separation, too much articulation. It's too tight, it's too clean, and it doesn't really feel legit. It depends on who you're going for though, because there were some players who did use all of their fingers, but quite a lot would just use their index, and once in a blue moon they might throw in their middle finger for something. They absolutely had to. It's sort of like, it's not as extreme, but sort of like the guys who only use two fingers to try to play Django stuff. I don't go that far, but I do think it's a fun thing to sort of help you immerse yourself in the sound. And you can certainly play all of the stuff that way, just like they could. Just have to kind of work on it. So we're going to set up that dead thumb, and I'm palm muting it to give it a little more thump. Bum, 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 like that. Right? Then essentially the left hand is going to be incorporating fragmentary. Hey, when you guys slap that spammer there, I'm going to be incorporating these little fragments of chord shapes, right? We still essentially, for the most part, have our 1-4-5 type chords, right? Our 1-4-5 progressions. So if we're in the key of E, that's going to be like E7, A7, and B7, right? Nothing crazy there if you know those shapes, right? An E7, basic E7 would be taking an E, lifting the ring finger off, so we have an open D string. A7 would be taking an A, lifting the, well, it depends on which finger you're using for the G, but leaving the G open inside of an A chord. And then B7, 2, 1, 2, 0, 2. Right, and I can still keep my 12-bar structure in many cases. 12 bars and 8 bar, well, are common. 8 bars are a lot more common in the older stuff than they are in more contemporary blues. The 16-bar structure you don't see as much until you get into more urban and more city-fied sort of stuff where there's more sort of jazz influence. The 16-bar has quite a few more chords and tends to be used more for sort of slow blues type feels, less for the more folky variations of blues. Right? So I'm going to take this E7. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's say on the first beat, the first thumb of each group of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to take the index finger up and I'm going to hammer it on to that first fret using my index finger over here with the right hand to pluck it. Right? By itself, a little bit boring. So let's try this. After we do that hammer on, let's grab the E string down here with whichever finger you can grab it with. Doesn't really matter. So if it's easiest to do with the ring finger, use your ring finger for it. right? And when we start doing that, we start to sort of hear a lick come out of it. We start to hear kind of a sound that we've heard before in early blues. This is all over the place. Right, so that'd be a variation of Crow Jane by Skip James. He usually played it in a lower tuning. I don't think he played that one in his open D minor. I think he played that one in like D standard, based on some of the sounds that we hear in it. But that's basically like an 8-bar type blues sort of thing. But we also hear it in stuff like, right? So let's add in that little sour note, that little minor 7th coming after that. That's going to be the 3rd fret on the B string. So we're going to go so that's hammering on 1st fret, open E, then 3rd fret on the B. Right, that leaves us hanging a little bit when we fall onto that 7th there, that minor 7th in the chord. So let's bounce right back up from there and bend up towards the open E after that. So then we'll get, right now we start to hear some real rhythm come out of that. We start to hear this kind of hop, right, that gives it a little bit of a lift. And we've got lots and lots and lots of options, lots of ways we can create variations of that. We can add other notes to that. Right? Lots and lots of little variations of that one phrase in there, in between all the chords. So, hey Zomball, how are you? This isn't very Chet style. You know, Chet would be, right? The thumb's a lot more active, alternating between tones. That's something we're going to talk about in a little while. Is doing the alternating thumb style, which pushes us a little bit more towards country and Piedmont blues. But right now what we're talking about, we're kind of looking at some simple little right hand and left hand patterns to start kind of getting some blues, some early blues type sounds under our fingers. Are there anybody else having issues? Is the stream laggy or having any problems for anyone else? So it looks okay on this end. Like I'm not seeing any drop frames or anything. Oh yeah, we should update the guitar command. While I'm thinking about it. This is a 1954 Gibson J45. Well, let me see. Let me take a look at my network. Everything looks okay there. Not seeing any issues in Streamlabs. Alright, so far what we got going is we got the thumb playing. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. The index finger hammering onto the first fret on the G, basically the G sharp in the E chord or the E7 chord. Right, then grabbing the open E, third fret on the B string, then back to the open E. And we're going to just play with variations of that for a minute. I don't know who that is. But I'm not famous enough for this to be a political stream yet, so try to keep it under control. Alright, so everything I've played so far is just some variation of that little lick we just looked at, right? Just kind of mixing up the rhythms a little bit, changing the order very slightly, in particular making them a little bit more syncopated and adding a few more subdivisions to them, right? So instead of just straight... Right, I'm starting to add in... And if you can sort of hear, like we talked about, that sort of little swing feel inside of there, you start to hear the places where you can drop in variations of that phrase a little more naturally, where they kind of sync up with it. Right? So another thing is adding in extra, this sort of double hammer here. Right? In some cases you can even trill it. Yes, drop in and sync up with that hip swing feel. Right, but just in that simple little framework, that simple little outline, there's a ton of subtle variations you can affect just by playing with the rhythm a little bit. Right? So then, if we want to change chords, if we're playing just a 12-bar blues type structure, right? The next chord is going to be our A7. right? And we have some options that are similar with the A7. We have some that are going to be different because we're working on a different string set, right? And a slightly different voicing of the chord. So we can still get our effect by coming to the first fret on the B string and hammering in to that second fret on the B. Right, going from the minor third to the major third. But if we want to get our high octave of the root note, instead of hitting the open E, which we can do and it'll sound fine, we have to get the high A. So then we get, which usually requires us then to slide, because most people aren't going to make that jump. Which gives us a little bit different option in terms of what we can finger. The other option, to kind of mirror the way that it's done in the E chord shape, is to come up into this shape. And all this is an A7 in what would be called the third inversion. It's starting on the 7th. So we have 5, 6, 5, 5. And it's kind of like we transplant this E7 all the way up to the 5th fret with the open A underneath it. It makes it sound like a big jump, though, because we're essentially shifting everything up a perfect fourth when we do that. So it sounds like a giant leap when we make that kind of transition. So if we want to keep things a little more close and focused sounding, we'll tend to sort of stay down here in this open register. We might shift up after we played it once or twice to the higher one, and it'll sound a little bit more organic than going straight from here and back. Versus right, and so then right, and so I'm adding a little variation with the thumb there. I'm still playing right on the beat. Now I'm playing the A string, right? But then when it gets ready to recycle each time, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm doing this, what would in a rock context be an absolute cliche, right? Grabbing the 3rd fret on the E string and bending it up into an A chord. In this case, it gives us this kind of snap. It resets our ear, which is something that a drummer would do. If you're playing with a good drummer, they have the ability to mark the beat, right? Mark where the measure is going to start, or where the cycle, if it's a particular sort of rhythmic cycle, a sequence of chord changes, a hook, a whatever, they're going to mark where that stops and starts, where it leads into the next one, where it recycles itself, etc. And in this case, that's what I'm doing here over the A. So I'm just holding the A down here. And I'm just reaching up. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right, so you can hear that same sort of pattern. The thumb outlining boom, boom. In this case, you can add, say, that minor 7th through the A. Add the high A. Back to E. Right, then for the final chord, we need our B7. And there's a million ways we can get to the B7, and I just played several of them through that little cycle. You can walk up the minor blues scale to it. Right, so if we're jamming, we're back on the E. Right, that's a lot of notes, though. Generally, not many players would fit that in. Blind Willie Mctell was one that would, though, who'd quite often play pretty long and ornate runs to get back and forth to connect to different chords in different places. Right, you can take a simple half step into it from either direction, either or. Right, just this little simple half step slip into that chord. Now when we're into this one, we can't use the same type of pattern that we would use with the E7 or the A7 quite as easily, because now that tone, that minor third to major third thing, is happening on the D string, which would mean we'd have to drop our index finger into the D to get that to happen, and it'd be very close to our bass note too. Right, with these, we have that sort of that octave of separation between them. With this one, being so close doesn't work quite as well, right? Unless we were to shift to this sort of bar chord shape of a B7, which not quite as common, or this shape way up here, which sounds like a huge jump if we transition into that one straight away. So when we shift to this one, most of the operation tends to be on up here around the E string, and then a little bit on the B string as well. Right, so we have a perfect fifth here on the 2nd fret that our pinky's playing. Right, that F sharp note. We can take it up a half step, and we get this tension from the augmented fifth. Which is the minor third of the E minor blues scale. So when we grab that, it sounds like we're sort of, or well, we are essentially playing like a blues scale lick in the root position on top of the B7 chord. Right, so that's 3, 2, 0, 3, 0. Another cool thing we can do, if we come down to the 2nd fret on the B string, we hear that B9 sound. So gives it a little more jazzy flavor. You and your goat penis, man. But the big thing is we maintain that rhythm down here in the bass. Right, and then typically, the teacup, can't read the brand, and there's still tea in it, so I can't turn it over yet. The teacup command. Sounds like some kind of erotic fiction. Start finding letters at the bottom of the teacup. You have to watch multiple streams over the course of months to assemble the secret. Right. So at the end of that, typically, we'll have what's called a turnaround. So after our full sort of sequence, right, we'll have what's called a turnaround, which is essentially a lick or phrase that loops us back to the beginning of the chord progression, back to the beginning of the 12-bar or 8-bar sequence. And sometimes that turnaround will end on the 5 chord. It'll be like a way to walk back up into the 5 chord, because the 5, we've talked about the dominant chord, kind of leaves us hanging and makes us want to go back to the 1. But in a lot of the earlier blues stuff, they don't even do that. They tend to just kind of vamp straight back into the 1. Like whatever the phrase is, just lands in the 1 and then it starts over again. And it gives it a little more drony character than landing on the 5, which becomes a stronger convention a bit later on in blues, and more in the urban styles of blues. Right, so we get to that turnaround lick. I'll show you one of my favorite ones, one that I played a bunch tonight. If that were to go back to the 5, right, we hear it kind of walk back up at the end, da-da-dum, ba-da-dum. But really, most of the earlier stuff tends to sort of just hang out in the 1 like that and groove in the 1. So what I'm doing here is after our... Some players will change back down to the 4. Or some will just, in some songs, will just stay on the 5 for 2 whole bars. Right, and we're changing back to the 1. And then the phrase that I'm going to play... Goodness gracious. That's part of today's annoyance that I mentioned earlier. My sinuses have just exploded today. Like about 30 minutes before the stream, my whole head, I don't know if I got around something that I was allergic to or what, but like my face is burning, my eyes are burning, my nose is running, sinuses are draining, hacking and coughing, thought I was going to die. And then it all just like dried up, like whoop. But man, it's draining. But anyways. Nah, it ain't Rona. I ain't been around nobody to get it. Now, ever felt like you've been, or ever been in like a, worked in like a, you know, like a barn or something? Yeah, 5G spreads it. Good thing I got a crappy ancient phone that barely works. It doesn't have 5G. Barely has 4G. But you know, if you've ever been in like a barn and you get around hay, like you know, you go for a roll in the hay, roll into the hay, and then all of a sudden you just start itching and burning like crazy, and your face swells up. You know, and your eyes swell shut, and you know you can't breathe. And they're like, bro, should we get the EpiPen because you're having like an allergic reaction? You're like, no, I got this. I can't afford that. Yeah, I can't mow the grass. You know, they did when I was younger. They did like a full allergy panel, and I don't think they do it this way anymore. But back when I was a teenager, the way that they did it was they would just take like 100 little pins with allergens on them and then poke you on the back. Like they drew a whole chart on my back, you know, a numbered chart across my back, and then poked me, poke, you know, with like pet dander and different types of pollen and nuts and all kinds of stuff. And for the most part, not much bothered me, but freaking grass made like a huge knot on my back. So they're like, yeah, you can't mow the grass anymore and don't go outside. I'm like, that's great. Being allergic to grass, like one of the most abundant forms of life on the planet. That's awesome. But yeah, if somebody's mowed, I can't go outside. It sucks. They still do it? Yeah, I think now they mostly do stuff, I think, with like blood panels, but anyways, that digression aside, talking about this lick here, I'm holding down the 4th fret on the G and the 5th fret or the 3rd fret on the B, right, and I'm sliding into them from the 2nd fret. Right, so the basic motion to start getting is just kind of working on hitting both of those strings with your index finger, which can be a little bit tricky at first. Rather than plucking both of them. It's a very different sound. Right? Then you can start to add that, where you start to add in the open E string on top. Right, and so I'm doing that, 3 times? Right, and then after that I'm sliding down. Right? 1st fret and 2nd fret. But I'm not really staying on them long enough for you to really hear them articulated, so you don't really hear. You just sort of hear them in transition. Right, and then I'm going to pull off to open. And when I pull off to open, I hammer onto the 1st fret on the G, then I grab 2nd fret on the D. And that's pretty much like our first lick. Right, so if we incorporate that into the chord progression, right? And it creates this kind of hook, right? Your ear goes, oh wait, that's something different. That's got a little bit different movement, a little bit different energy, right? And then it comes to a close on that chord tone, right? We finally resolve. Then the whole cycle would start over again with whatever variations you want to add to it, right? But that would give you a pretty straightforward kind of early blues 12 bar sort of sound to play. Yeah, it's at first it's a little bit separate, right? Your brain sort of tries to view each part or each sort of rhythmic thing separately, right? Like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, bad. Then what on earth are the other fingers doing? But if you start hearing the gestalt, you know, the kind of broader rhythm, you'll start to sort of find yourself falling into it, right? Your thumb will just kind of do this on its own. You don't really think about the thumb much at all. You just kind of think about the phrase. And then no matter what you play, really, it'll sort of automatically find itself sucked into that rhythm, that sort of broader rhythm. But you've got to get to where the thumb just kind of does it on its own, where you can sit here and talk and the thumb will just play dum ba dum da dum da dum da dum da dum da dum da dum. It's hard to drink and move your hand like that though, because then you smack yourself in the teeth with the cup. Yeah. Right, but you're going to be able to sit around and just go boom, 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 boom. Basically forever. Right, but that's the dead thumb approach. So the thumb is just playing right on the beat. Index finger's going, hey, you've been playing too much electric guitar lately. What you doing to me? Getting a little callous on the index finger. Right, we can take those same chords and we can move from a dead thumb sort of sound, which is a little more rough and raw, a little more primitive, to more kind of a country blues or Piedmont blues sort of sound by taking that thumb then and learning to alternate it. So if we're playing that E chord, in this we hear the kind of roots of stuff like Travis picking and the stuff that Doc Watson would play, which was mostly sort of country and Piedmont blues. And ultimately guys like Chet Atkins and a lot more contemporary fingerstyle stuff like Leo Kottke playing a really extreme version, right, of that kind of vibe. Dishware Ow, thank you so much for following. How are you? Welcome to the stream. Right, playing that sort of mechanical variation is very forceful with the separations in there. From North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. I live in Georgia, but I'm from North Carolina. How are you? What part of North Carolina? Oh, Overwatch. Okay, so it's not Ow. Like, did you drop the dishware and injure yourself? Of course, Alec coming in with the important questions. Oh dear. Nerds. So we're just getting to the point that coming from dead thumbing, right, playing sort of a steady thumb, oh, you're Matt's friend? That's cool. Happy to have you. Trying to get Matt to Zoom me so I can show him some stuff on guitar, but I think he's too chicken. But now I'll be working on getting the thumb alternating. And so the most simple alternation, the most common sort of alternation tends to be either an octave alternation or a root 5 alternation. In most of the blues stuff, it tends to be the octave alternation, at least at first. Busy? You ain't busy. You ain't that busy. So if we're taking that E chord, again, the thumb is going to alternate between the low E string and then the octave on the D string. Right, and if you don't mute, it tends to kind of jump out. It tends to take over things a little bit. So the palm muting down here with the right hand helps keep especially that low octave kind of punchy. But just the animation, just the sound of that octave hopping back and forth kind of makes you play, it kind of gives you a different sort of feel than the makes it feel more kind of bouncy, a little more playful. Right, and we can take essentially the same type of licks. Right, it makes it sound a lot more busy. It makes it sound a lot more animated. It gives it a different kind of character. It also gives us a little bit more of an inclination, and at least to me anyway, an inclination towards more of a major feel. We start to hear a little bit more of that major blues work its way in versus the heavily sort of minor sound. Right, if we sort of visualize the outline of the major blues scale here in E, right? We can sort of see those tones. Especially on the B string and E string. They work very well. They kind of let us create lots of fun little melodies on top of the chords and on top of that thumb pattern. Luckified, thank you. Thank you very much for following. Welcome to the stream. I greatly appreciate that. Another another one of Matt's buddies, I guess. We're happy to have you. Oh yeah, don't forget about that. If you're not in the Discord, get in the Discord. Because we talk about guitar and music stuff all week long in the Discord. It's also where we have channels for making requests for the various theme streams that we do. Also, what the channel's here for, I'm a guitar teacher IRL, or at least, kind of was before everything shut down. And so I'm kind of trying to find different avenues and outlets for that. For educational guitar content. Educational guitar content. Get a sound official. Right, so to get some of these more kind of major sounds, instead of playing that 3rd fret, which gives us that 7th sound, that minor 7th, a little bit of sourness, just move it to the 2nd fret, which gives us a major 6. And this is essentially otherwise very much the same pattern that we were playing in the first part. I'm still send a picture of your bass. Oh, you play bass? We do bass streams sometimes too. Oh, dude, thank you so much for that. That is absolutely amazing. I really, really appreciate that. Dishware jumping in with the sub, with the prime sub. Absolutely amazing. I'm sorry, I'm afraid I have no dances to do for subscribers. I need to come up with like a lick to play every time somebody subscribes or something, though. Just kind of like straight up in the middle, no matter what I'm doing. Is that the type of slap you're talking about? Oh no, you mean slap the like button. Dude, Luckified, thank you so much for that. That is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Just jumping straight in and dropping subs. That is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. That's a pretty chord, man. This should just be the pretty subchord for the evening. So how long have you guys been playing? So there's that lick. But then instead of 3rd fret, 2nd fret. Started about 3 weeks ago. Whoa. So you're super new. Super, super, super duper new. So let's see. So Keep or Alec, or one of you guys, can you track down the clip for like the beginner exercise. You know the exercise I give everybody when they're brand new. I think Grimm made a clip of it a long time ago. But if you can find that clip and post it in chat, that would be awesome, because that's basically, if you were taking lessons, that would be the first thing I would give you. And if you're just starting out, absolutely great exercise to work with. Off and on for a few years. Why the offs? See, the important thing is the on, staying on and doing it constantly, you know. Even if you can only play a few hours a week, just continuously doing it. When you take breaks, man, that tends to just set you back. Just look at the old clips. It should also be probably one of the most viewed clips, I would think. It had a ton of views, relatively speaking. I mean, none of my clips have a ton of views, but compared to some of the lesser viewed ones. But most of the stuff we do here, you know, we have some streams where we just kind of goof off and do whatever, but most of my streams tend to be more kind of geared towards the educational side of things. You know, even if I'm taking requests, I'm usually showing you how to play it, you know, walking you through the techniques that you need, or, you know, the actual frets themselves in many cases, that kind of stuff, and demonstrating how to play the song that's been requested, rather than just like playing it and moving on. Oh, see, now you're hyping Matt up now. You're hyping Matt up now, so he's got some standards to live up to when he finally does, when I finally do get him on Zoom or Discord or wherever and he shows me some stuff. Set that bar really high for him. It does kind of, I guess it does kind of run in the family though, because I mean, I've done it professionally for a long time now, you know, coming up on 18 years, I think. And then my older brother, Matt's other uncle, has played guitar forever and ever and ever and ever, and he's really good too. And our great grandfather played music, and on our mother's side, our grandfather on our mother's side supposedly did too, but he died when she was very young, so, you know, nobody really knows. But supposedly he could play several instruments quite well. But it does seem to be somewhere in the family. Quite a few other cousins and stuff like that who are musicians as well. Mostly in the kind of bluegrass and gospel field, though. Do I take? Yeah, I mean, it depends on like the theme of the night. Usually we have a specific theme. So like we have Metal Mondays where we do all metal stuff. We have nights like tonight. Tonight's actually, I think, the first time we've done a blues specific theme. We have jazz nights. We have funk nights. We have nights where we do bass. We have actually this Friday will be Free for All Friday, I think, which is anything goes, like any request, any style of music. I do believe. I think that's what's. Let me check. But yeah, pretty much anything. I mean, even stuff. A lot of times we do requests for things that aren't even played on guitar. Let me see what's. No, wait, this Friday we're doing New Wave, I think. Last Friday was Free for All Friday. But we're also pretty flexible. Sometimes we get bored and just play different things just to play them. Wait, what are you guys going on about? A cat. Last of Us. No, I've never really played Last of Us. But give me a minute. I gotta go find a cat, apparently. Because Priest and his cat points. Where will the cat be? That's the second time he's redeemed that one. That's the second time. So he must have a thing for the catos. All right. Give me just a second. I'll go see who I can find. Hopefully one of them will be in the cat house somewhere, so I can just rip him out of his warm bed and make him angry and drag him in here. All right, BRB. All right. We've got a big fat Sammy. All the rest were hiding, but he was hanging out in the cat house. He's happy to be in, but he's going to try to run away, probably. Because once he's inside, he goes, oh man, it's my opportunity. It's my opportunity to go hide. So I got to keep a hold on him. Yeah, he's a fat boy. He's huge. He's a good 15 pounds or so. It's kind of weird because we got him and his brother. Actually, the last cat, the last time you redeemed your points, Victor, the black and white one, that is actually his brother, and he's super scrawny compared to this guy. See Vegito, or is it Vegito? Thank you so much for following. That is awesome. Welcome to the stream. We're taking a cat break at the moment, as mandated by Death Priest's point expenditure. You're probably hearing the dog toenails. It's okay, Sammy. You're probably hearing the dog toenails. One of the dogs is running around upstairs. because I can definitely hear her toenails clacking on the floor above me. What is that? What is that? What is that? He apparently quite likes the microphone. Fat boy. Yeah, he's purring a little bit. He's a little confused. He's not quite sure what's up. Not quite sure what's going on. He knows something's up. Back up. Yeah, you're fine. No, don't go that way. Nope. Nope. Is that scratchy? Is the microphone scratchy? Is that what you like? Oh, goodness. Nope. Can't go that way. He's looking for his avenue to go duck under the couch or something. Oh. Now he'll definitely go hide so he won't get put back out. Pretty much only one of the cats is chill enough to hang out while guitar is being played. And it's not him. He's actually pretty skittish. To be as big as he is a total fraidy cat. A total fraidy cat. His brother would totally vibe out and hang with us. But not this guy. I was hoping to find Zoo. We have our other big cat. I think she's the only one that we haven't had on stream at some point before. But couldn't find her. Where are you going, Fatso? Come sit here for a minute. Hang out. Be cool. Be cool. You're on the internet. Be cool. Oh, man. All right, fatty. No. If you guys are enjoying cat butt. Formerly cat nuts. They're just kind of empty now. Mm-hmm. All right, big boy, you ready to go back out? We got to get on with the show. No, don't stomp on the keyboard. No, no cat on the keyboard. Cats and keyboards are bad combinations. All right, he's got to go. He's getting too adventurous. Say bye, fatty. Matt, were you asking how tall I am? You should know. And you've only been You've only been my nephew your entire life. You ought to know. Hella tall. Now I am 6'7". Alright, so I think that's what we were doing. We were talking about getting the... You better not. 69, bro. No, dude, it's enough of a pain in the butt being 6'7". Another 2 inches taller would have amounted to so many more heads being smacked on things. Even more difficult to find clothes that fit. Does run in. That's another thing that runs in the family, though. On my father's side, you know, I have like second cousins that are over 7 foot. People I've never met mostly, but apparently a lot of his family in Tennessee and wherever are 6'10", 7 foot, 7'1". All right, so that's kind of in the vein, sort of in the vein of Mississippi John Hurt. Or we could do actually, yeah, we could do a pretty easy Mississippi John Hurt song, or at least the outline of one that's pretty easy. All right, and that'll put us in a different key too. That'll be fun because we played a bunch of E so far. Imagine that. Right, so this is kind of a sort of a country blues tune, and this particular one is a gospel tune, because you got to walk that lonesome valley. Right, and it's using essentially sort of a G chord shape, but we're basically just using the 2 outside E strings. We're not really fingering this full G most of the time. We throw this finger in a couple places, but we're going to strip it down to kind of its essence. If we hold down this G shape, does anybody else having any kind of audio issues? I don't see anything weird on my meters. Like, I'm not seeing, usually if there's kind of like a crackle or a bad hum or buzz, I'll see the meter kind of sputtering a little bit, but I'm not seeing anything unusual here. It doesn't look like I'm clipping anywhere. I mean, when I'm playing guitar, the guitar is not even peaking the mic in the slightest. So it must be either me being loud, or maybe it's my chair cracking. My chair makes a lot of noise when I move. turning the second mic, the room mic, down a little bit. I don't really know what else it could be. You know, unless there's a cable somewhere that's developed a problem. But hold on a minute. Let me turn the stream on in a browser and see if I can hear anything. Because I definitely don't like audio problems for obvious reasons. Where's Twitch? Come on, stream. Please load. Alright, let me play a little bit. Hello, 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 hello. Check, check, check. I'm not hearing anything on my end. Let me get a little closer to the mic, see if it makes some more noise. Check, 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 check. Nah, I got nothing. Got nothing. Wait a minute, did I miss something here? What's going on in chat? I missed something while I was looking over at the stream. Oh, hey, C Vegito. What's the appropriate way to pronounce your name? Anyways, well, I don't hear anything, so hopefully it's not destroying anybody's earballs out there. So, let's see. Oh yeah, Mississippi John Hurt. Right. So if we're in this G chord sort of shape, C Vegeta. Okay, so it's Vegito. So is it Dragon Ball Z? See, Cheeto. Just call you Cheeto. Until somebody gets in chat who's actually called Cheeto. And then everything will be ruined. Oh, look at you, dropping the boo emote. Hiding back here behind me. Other way, I'm backwards in the monitor. Oh, speaking of emotes, Keep, I'm going to send you one to work on shortly, maybe after the stream tonight, if you've got some time in the next couple days. All right, so we're going to set our thumb up, alternating between the E string and the D string. Right, and in this tune, basically, the left hand is predominantly going to be moving that octave just up and down between the 3rd fret, 5th fret, and 7th fret at different points of the song. Awesome, that's cool, super cool. Is the latency low enough in Discord to actually play along with somebody? I'm curious. I haven't tried. I've been using Zoom mostly for my online lessons, and there's still a little bit too much latency with that to sync up. But I've heard Discord is a little bit better. Discord is definitely better than Zoom. I'll have to try it then. I've tried getting a couple of my students to use it, but most of my students, I have to synchronize everything through their parents, and their parents are like, "What's Discord? That sounds scary." Of course, the kids know what Discord is and both use it. Alright, so setting that rhythm up. Then with the middle finger or ring finger, or whichever finger you prefer to use to pluck the melody notes, we're going to start off with the open B, hammer onto the 3rd fret, open E, hammer onto the 3rd fret. So right? So we're just kind of super easy major pentatonic melody, predominantly on the E string, a little bit of B string in there. You gotta walk that lonesome valley. You gotta walk it by yourself. Nobody else can walk it for you. You gotta walk that valley by yourself. So the thumb just keeps playing that same pattern. And then the ring finger mirrors whatever the pinky's doing. Yeah, dude, thanks for stopping in. Thanks for following and subbing. That's absolutely amazing. This Friday, I think actually, it's going to be Friday Night New Wave. We're going to be focusing on tunes from the 80s, the late 70s and 80s, New Wave, post-punk, New Romantics, that kind of stuff. If you want to make requests, the Discord is definitely the place to do it if you've got specific songs you'd like me to work on or to check out, because I will be happy to check them out. Or if you just want to talk guitar, talk music, ask questions in general, the Discord is a great place to do it. We've got a cool little music community building up in there. Alright. So, 0303 3303 335 357 753 3303 75353 or 753. Then just mirror that on the bass string. Now, if you listen to the full version, it's a little bit more elaborate. The bass notes start to switch up a little bit more. He starts to add in kind of little subdivisions. And so you get this. Kind of in between things. But if you can get the basic, right, get that outline down. That creates sort of the platform for you to play the more ornate sort of subdivisions and syncopations and stuff later on. In particular, one thing that Mississippi John Hurt does quite a bit is this sort of triplet feel on top of the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so what that is in this case, the second thumb winds up being the third note of a three-finger grouping, or a three-string grouping. You start stringing all of those together, it starts to get surprisingly elaborate to be a very, very simple kind of outline and a very simple sort of melody. You know, these three positions that are all essentially identical in terms of fingering. The right hand starts doing all this work, though, with those simple little things to make it much more kind of complex and rich and interesting than just going. Alright, so a very simple, very pretty little melody. Let's see. 11:30, so we'll go for about a half an hour more before we have to wrap it up. Does anybody have questions about that particular little piece, that particular sort of fingering pattern, before we start looking at some other little variations? What chords am I playing where? Where are my fingers for what? For the Mississippi John Hurt? Right, so third position, G chord. Have you not been paying attention? Right? Then we're just taking that shape, moving it up to the 5th fret. Then 3, 5, 7. Then 7, 5, 3. 7, 5, 7, 5, 3. Oh Lord Jesus had to walk that lonesome valley. He had to walk it by himself. Nobody else could walk it for him. He had to walk that valley by himself. That's all it does. It's just in those 3 frets, those 3 positions. 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. That melody just moves back and forth up that G major pentatonic scale. And the thumb just alternates between E string and D string. Hey, thanks for stopping in, Keep. Glad to see you. You gotta get back in the stream more, man. We really miss you in here. All right. So, have you got that down, Matt? Kinda. I'll post a video in the Discord of him playing that too, so you can kind of watch him play it and hear his little rhythmic variations and stuff. But it just takes time, right? You got to hear it a bunch, sit down and play it a bunch. You'll sort of hear it come out though. It's all pretty simple. But let's do, for the last thing, let's do today. Let's do, since we've got all these NC guys in here, let's do Lib a Cotton song. Let's do Freight Train. It's one I've played on stream a bunch of times, but it is kind of a finger picking and fingerstyle blues kind of magnum opus in a way. Like, it's hugely important. Everybody and their brother has either ripped it off or done a version of it at some point. Right, and it's going to use this sort of alternating thumb type pattern, but it's going to be a little bit more elaborate now. We're going to have to synchronize our left hand, notes in our left hand moving along with it in many cases, with many of the chords. Right, and we'll have a little bit more busy melody on top of it too. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to sort of look at the chord progression for it. We're going to be sitting for most of the first part of the song on just a C. And our thumb is going to start on the root note on the A string of the C chord. Right, and we're going to alternate between A string, D string. Then our ring finger is going to step up to the E string on the 3rd fret. Grab it, then back to the D string. So you get... Then I'm going to start using my thumb to catch both the D string and G string together. So now instead of just, I start to hear, my hand starts to sort of pulse along with that too. Since I'm not muting with my right hand, I create the sort of punch by actually muting with my left hand. Every time I hit the note, I pulse the left hand off. So as soon as I hit it, I take the left hand off without removing my fingers from the string. That dampens those out and gives the notes kind of a staccato attack without having to palm mute with the right hand. It also lets our bass note develop a little bit more. Boom, bop, boom. Then for the melody, we have 3rd fret on the E string, open E string, 3rd fret on the B string, 1st fret on the B string, then open B string, then back to 3rd on the E, 1. So 3, 0, 3, 1, 0, 3, 1. Right? 3, 0, middle finger is going to come up. We're going to be essentially in a G chord. O, 3, 1. Right, and you can make it all kinds of busy, all kinds of syncopated, all kinds of fancy, but the outline is still there. So C, G, all right, then we're going to stay on top of the G. And our melody is going to go 3, 1, O, then 3 on the B. Then we're going to land back in C. And that's going to be 1 here for our melody note. 3 on the E string. Then open. So. I screwed that up. Yeah, man. Losing it here. Play it fast, not slow. Playing things slowly totally messes with your brain when you're used to playing it quickly. And playing it without the embellishments too, right? So after that sequence, we're going to walk down from the G on the 3rd fret, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to land in E or E7. Right, we're going to grab the open E's. Then we're going to do that little hammer-on lick. Then we're going to grab 3rd fret on the B string to turn it into an E7. Then we're going to land in F. When we land in F, this is a little bit tricky. Right, we're going to keep this alternating going. And our melody note is going to be 1st fret on the B string. Then we have to do this little bend where we're at the 3rd fret on the B string and we bend it over the F. And depending on how you finger your F, that's more or less difficult. You know, if you finger your F this way, it's not too bad. If you do the bar chord F, a little bit trickier. Then out of that, 3, 4, O, 1, O, 3, 1. So. very simple little melody, but lots and lots of room for kind of syncopation and subdivision, and for kind of making it your own. If you listen to, Elizabeth Cotton's version when she's younger, you'll hear it one way. You listen to it when she's older, it gets a lot more kind of loose and a lot more kind of minimalist. If you listen to then, like, say, the Seegers or Doc Watson or Chet Atkins or Merle Travis or any number of other people play it, you'll hear slight variations in terms of how it's delivered, how it's syncopated, how little melody tones go. So I can hear old number 9 as she goes rolling by. Freight train, roll so fast. Freight train, roll fast. Please don't what ride I'm on. They won't know what route I've gone. Please don't tell what line I've gone. They don't know what route I'm on. So that's using like no muting at all. Versus. Like all those different little shades that are all coming from the right hand really massively affect what it sounds like. How percussive it is. How sort of open or sparkly it is. How much bass you get out of the string, if you play farther over the sound hole. We get more low end and more kind of lower overtones out of the string. We move back towards the bridge. We get twangier. Versus. That's actually important regardless of whether you're playing fingerstyle or pickstyle too, right? Like if we're strumming back here near the ridge, we're getting a lot twangier. Well, if we're up here, just simple adjustments, just moving where you strike the string, can give you wildly different colors and timbres out of the instrument with the same chords, the same types of playing. Man, interesting. We spent pretty much all of tonight on blues and blues influence stuff and standard tuning. We didn't even get into open tunings. We didn't even get into early jazz or any such. Mama Clorox. That's quite a name. Thank you for that follow. Another North Carolina person, another friend of Maddie's then, I presume. How are you? Welcome to the stream. we're coming up on midnight, so we're gonna have to wrap it up, I'm afraid. But Maddie, happy to have you in here. Thanks for dragging all your buddies in here. Hope they're having fun too. I think the next stream will be Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing Friday Night New Wave, doing songs of the 80s. So if you're following and you'd like to make specific requests or just talk music and guitar or bass or mandolin or banjo or whatever, in general, get in the Discord. The Discord is the place to be. And we have categories for our various stream themes. All kinds of stuff going on in there. If you haven't hit the follow button, hit the follow button. Check out the socials too. I've got YouTube where we have a lot of the older VODs from the stream posted up. We have Instagram where I post pictures of guitars if you like looking at cool guitars. I have a Twitter where I pretty much just have Streamlabs automatically post tweets that the stream is going live. Right? But we stream pretty much every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with some kind of theme. Yeah, Luckified, thank you so much for following, for jumping in and following and subbing. That's absolutely incredible. Stop back by Friday. Make sure to stop back by and check out what's going on Friday, because we usually stream for 2 or 3 hours at least. Sometimes Friday streams go really long too because it's Friday and everybody can hang out. But I'm going to go fix something to eat. Thank you guys so much again for hanging out, and I will see you next time. If I can type correctly.